Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are, it is right now. You are right here. My name is Manuel, and it is my pleasure to welcome you. Today is day 16 of the show, and I have to congratulate you for making the best decision of the day to spend some time with me. Let's get started. So, I almost hate to say this, but let's talk about Minneapolis again. Because apparently, we've reached a stage of protest where people who oppose borders have invented their own border patrol. That's always my favorite plot twist. You've got these so-called activists setting up roadblocks, stopping civilians, demanding ID, questioning people about where they're going, which is fascinating because I was told this behavior was fascism about 5 minutes ago. Now, here's the reframe. This isn't about ICE, this isn't about immigration, and this isn't even about protest. This is about power cosplay. These people aren't trying to persuade you, they're trying to experience authority. Remember what I've said about people who put on a lab coat and think that makes them a scientist? Because once you strip away the slogans, what you're left with is, I want to feel important, feared, and morally superior, and this is the fastest way. That's not ideology. That's a costume party with often violent consequences. But if you want to speak of it in a more serious manner, the historical comparisons are numerous. When you see people stopping strangers, demanding ideological loyalty tests, and treating silence as guilt, you're not looking at civil disobedience. You're looking at informal enforcement of orthodoxy. That's not new, it's not edgy. What it is page one of every authoritarian playbook ever written, from Lenin to Hitler, from Stalin to Mao. Here's the part that always amuses me. The same people who say the police have too much power and shouldn't stop citizens without cause are now saying, hand over your ID and explain yourself to my buddy with a bandana and an iPhone. Apparently, the problem was never power. It was who gets to wield it. Now, let's talk incentives because that's where the clarity lives. No one does this because it's effective. They do it because it's intoxicating. They get instant moral status. They get an adrenaline rush. They get social reinforcement. And perhaps most importantly for some of them, they get to punish anyone who disagrees with them. That's a hell of a potent dopamine cocktail. Which is why these movements always drift inevitably towards intimidation, not by accident, but by design. Because persuasion is hard, but coercion? Oh, that feels like winning. And here's something you can't unsee once you've seen it. Every one of these so-called activists, every single one of these part-time latte-sipping guerrilla fighters believes they are preventing tyranny by practicing it on a smaller scale. They're going to teach you about their peaceful and tolerant ways, even if they have to crack your skull open in the process. They don't see the irony because irony requires self-reflection, and mobs are really bad at that. One last reframe. If a civilian group you politically disliked set up checkpoints, demanded ID, stopped pedestrians, required declarations of loyalty, you wouldn't call it activism. You'd call it what it is, terrorism. And that's the lesson. Because not all terrorism requires literal bombs or explosives. What it requires is intimidation and fear. When politics becomes a costume party, the scariest people aren't the ones with the bad ideas. The scariest people are the ones who think wearing the right costume makes any action righteous. We've seen it before. We've seen how just the right armband or scarf or mask grants the wearer free rein to do all manner of evil in the name of their supposedly righteous cause. That's not progress. That's history trying to warn you. Again. All right. That's enough for today. We'll continue tomorrow. And as always, be useful.